Did you know Barcelona has an Arc de Triomphe and it is at the entrance to a stunning park area filled with lakes, gold encrusted waterfalls, tropical jungle plants, and even a zoo? No? Well, neither did we, and this was our fourth trip to Barcelona. Not only did we discover this gorgeous area, we finally went to the world famous Montserrat monastery complex high in the mountains just outside the city. We loved it so much and can't believe we left it this long to experience the incredible place. We share absolutely everything you need to know in this episode for the perfect visit. Stay listening to the end though and hear how I braved my fear of heights to go up the funicular to experience probably the best views anywhere in Spain. If you would like to see all the pictures of the places we talk about in this episode, including those stunning views, then click the link in the podcast description on the player you are listening on now to episode 120. Hello and welcome back to the Beach Travel Wine podcast, and hello Lyle.
Buenos dias, Leonita.
As I said in the intro, we are taking you somewhere that we haven't been before, even though we've been to Barcelona 4 times, and there's a couple of places that we discovered this trip, and it was a fabulous trip. We were so excited to be back in Spain and back in Barcelona, and so let's tell people how we got there though.
Yeah, we basically flew from Dubrovnik airport to Barcelona. It took about 5.5 hours.
So we'd had like 6 weeks or so in Croatia before we headed back to Spain.
Yeah. And look, we caught a cab from the airport.
It was interesting because we just spent all those weeks avoiding cabs in other countries. But when you get to Barcelona, everyone lines up for the cabs.
The lineup was unbelievable.
But it was so efficient. Though.
Oh, look, yeah. And look, I don't know, probably 100 people waiting for a cab.
Yep.
And yet they had people there organising the queues and they were organising the cabs to flow through.
Yeah.
And, look, and it was really, really good.
Yeah.
We stayed at the our accommodation was the H10 Montserrat
Hotel.
Montserrat Boutique Hotel. Look, it was modern, it was clean.
It was in a really great position.
Oh, fabulous. It was in the Gothic Quarter.
If I remember, we had like a little drink on arrival.
Yeah, there was champagne on arrival, and we were starving and looked around, and there was actually free pastries.
Yeah.
They
have you can include breakfast, and I think they obviously bring up food from there. And every time I went up and down, they had jars of lollies, remember?
And they had the free pastries.
Yeah.
So, look, it was really, really good. It was modern. It was clean. It had a fabulous rooftop bar. And the views from the rooftop bar, it was almost like you could touch the Barcelona Cathedral. It was absolutely magnificent.
Yeah, it was great views. And we could just walk out the front door across the road and we were in the Gothic Quarter.
Yeah. And part of the Gothic Quarter there is also the Jewish Quarter. And then, look, there's a bunch of restaurants, cafes, all that sort of thing. You've got walking distance to the beach and also the Plaza Real.
Yeah.
Which
or as I like to say, Plaza Real.
But look, it was just the perfect position. I loved it.
Yeah, so it was H10 Montserrat Hotel.
Yeah, highly recommend. It wasn't that expensive. And the other thing was we got there reasonably late in the afternoon, and we just sort of had a quick look around, and then we went up and had obviously a drink in the bar and a beautiful glass of wine, and it was about €3.
I know, it was just so nice to be back to cheap wine.
It was so cheap because I was a little bit concerned because I thought with Croatia being that little bit dearer, I thought maybe after the COVID, everything had gone up.
Yeah.
But no, probably Barcelona, probably one of the most expensive places in Spain, was back to a really reasonable price.
Well, I remember buying a bottle of water, and 2 things. I also remember, like in Croatia in particular, that people would say cash only in some of the places, right?
Yep.
So I remember getting to the airport of all places in Barcelona and needing a bottle of water. And I picked it up and it was like €1.20. And I said to the girl, "Do you take card?" And she looked at me like I had 2 heads, as if to say, well, why wouldn't we take card?
Yeah, I remember you coming back and saying to me about that. Yeah.
So it was just like, oh, we're back. We can use our card. People aren't trying to rip you off for water. And I'm like, a €1.20 is about half of what we were paying anywhere else for water. So it was great to be back in España, no?
Sí.
So a couple of things on this trip into Barcelona. As I said, we've been there a couple of times. And look, to be honest, I'm going to say it out loud, Barcelona isn't our favourite Spanish city. However, this time not that we haven't enjoyed it, there's just so many other places that we like more, but we really enjoyed it this time, and we found a couple of things, as I said, that we haven't seen before. And I was determined to go to Montserrat, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But then, like we do, we get up and we go for a wander, don't we? And we just walked straight out of our hotel and headed down the road and found a park, really.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Look, this whole area, which includes the Castle of the Dragons, and includes the Arc de Triomphe, and includes...
Well, who knew Barcelona had an Arc de Triomphe?
Yep, and it also includes the Parque de la Ciudadela. Now, all these buildings, this area was built between 1887 and 1888 as part of the Universal Exhibition of Barcelona. So it's just this huge area.
Well, we noticed the Castle of the Three Dragons first, didn't we?
Yeah, you did. You said, geez, what's that? It was actually a cafe restaurant. That's for the exhibition. The name was probably adopted from the 1865 play by Serafi Petari. It is at the end of the street.
He says that like he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, it is. I knew. Look at the building. Like to turn around and say it's like was built for the exposition as a cafe restaurant. It looks absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it got like the things on the corner that look like lookouts on a castle. That's what we noticed in the distance. That's what we first saw.
And then we looked up the street, and Leanne says to me, "Is that Arc de Triomphe?" And I said, "Yeah, it looks like it." And then in that area, it had all the beautiful fence and the...
Oh, yeah, I've got beautiful photos of all of these.
The lamps.
The lamps, like they look like you thought they might have been designed by Gaudi there. They were that intricate in their design. But even the Arc de Triomphe, well, you've got some information on that, but I've got a really fabulous photo that shows the detail at the top of the archway.
Yeah. So it was built as the gateway to the Universal Exhibition. There are reliefs on one side symbolising agriculture and industry, and commerce and art on the other side. Atop of the arch, the shield of the 49 Spanish provinces are presided over by the coat of arms of the city of Barcelona.
All right, so if you want to have a look at this stuff we're talking about now, and you will want to go and have a look at some of the other stuff as well, the photos we've taken, they're on our Beach Travel Wine, and it's episode 120. The link will be in the play you're listening on now to that, and you can go and check out all those photos of what we're talking about, because we were blown away by the castle-looking building, and then the Arc de Triomphe, and as you said, the fencing around it all ornate. Then there were a couple of other things that just...
So it's basically a chance for all the Spanish architects and artists to show off. And that's what I see it as. Now, on the grounds, there are several attractions.
So the park is, as we said, we've got the castle we're talking about, which was the restaurant, and then the Arc de Triomphe, which was sort of, off to the side, which is the entrance into it. And then you've got this big area that contains all this other stuff that we're going to tell you about.
Yeah. So, and that's called the Parque de la Ciudadela.
Right.
On the grounds, there are several attractions. The zoo, the Catalan Parliament, the Museum of Art is situated in the building of the Parliament, the Zoological Museum, and the Geological Museum. The park was designed under the command of Joseph Fontserra. The young and then unknown architect Antoni Gaudi supported him with the design of the waterfall, the Cascada. Gaudi immortalised himself on the fountain which stands by the lake. The water basin in front of the fountain is guarded by winged dragons, a figure quite commonly found in his work. The gilded horseman atop the park's magnificent waterfall is actually a woman. She is Aurora, the Roman goddess of the dawn. Now, she's riding 4 horses.
Yeah. Now we came across this area, and at the time we saw it, the water wasn't running. They were having water.
There was a drought. Yeah.
Yeah, in Barcelona. However, there's a big pond in front of it, and
water basin.
Yeah, exactly. And there's 2 staircases that go up either side, where you can go up in behind, and they're ornate big staircases as well. and you can go up different levels and get in behind where the waterfall is. Yes.
Yeah.
And up above that are these gilded 4 horses, and I've got the best photo where you're looking up at that, and you just can't believe how gorgeous and shiny this gold is.
Yeah, it just looks
amazing. But the dragons down at the water level, that I just love those. They reminded me of the ones that we saw in Ljubljana on the bridge, the Bridge of Dragons, but the big wings on that, and just we'd never heard of this.
No.
Cascada. Like, we had no idea that this was in Barcelona. So
and it's just beautiful parklands, and it's free.
Yeah,
everything's free.
You're just wandering around.
And now, when we said earlier about the lamps where the Arc de Triomphes look like they were designed by Gaudi.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking probably they were.
Yeah, perhaps because he had an influence in this.
In the water, in the waterfall.
You got to check out the photos of this, and then. Not far from that is that big woolly mammoth statue. Remember?
Yeah.
There's a few big animal statues around, obviously more for the kids. But then the thing I liked, I know you've got a lot more to tell, but the thing that I liked straight after that big waterfall, all that stuff, was the lake. There's a big lake right in the middle.
Yeah.
And what was unusual about the lake was it had these Japanese trees growing in out of the lake. I don't know what sort of trees they were. It looked like they've actually been put there. They weren't in pots. They were growing in the water. They were fascinating. And then all the little ducks.
Like miniature. The miniature ones.
Bonsai trees.
Yeah, bonsai. That's right. Yeah. That's the word I was trying to think of.
There's all these ducks in the water, and you can actually hire rowboats and row around the lake. We've never heard of this.
No.
It was so pretty. Beautiful big trees leaning over the water, the shade. It was beautiful. We just wandered around there for so long.
Yeah, I mean, you could spend at least half a day there because you've got the Parliament building for the Catalans.
There's a bit of a protest going on.
Yeah, there was. That wouldn't surprise us.
There was a cathedral that we went into.
Yes, that's true.
A church that we went and had a look in. But then probably my favourite thing was the greenhouse.
Yeah.
That was like it's this building, a great big, I guess, domed roof almost, or arch, So it's a big dome roof, but it's not a solid roof. It's slats of timber.
Yep.
And you sort of wonder what's in there, because we came round from behind and there was like this group doing yoga there, and I'm like, okay, this obviously isn't the entrance. And we went the other way, and there's these big doors, and I remember you standing there and basically pulling the door open, and then as you go in, it's like this tropical jungle inside. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was. It was impressive. It certainly was.
And you look up and you can just see the light coming through. And obviously these plants can't grow in the heat of Barcelona, so that it's built like that to shade them.
Yeah.
And giant leaves on some of these plants. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and as we were walking around, we obviously, as we said earlier, the zoo is there for the kids and that sort of thing. But then we headed out, and then we were hitting towards the Rambla.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just went and had a walk, and we had some lunch, and we spoke to a guy just standing out the front of his shop, really. And we have heard at this point in time there's supposed to be demonstrations about tourists and that sort of thing.
Well, they
have been. But we didn't see any of that. And when I spoke to this guy, because you asked to go to the toilet, and he was more than happy for you to go and use his toilet. I spoke to him. I said, "Where's a good place for lunch?" And he was more than happy to spend the time to tell me where to go and why it was good. And we went there. We had a hamburger, and it was really good.
I think I had a Tinto de Verano.
Yeah, you did too. I remember.
Pretty excited by that.
Leanne was extremely excited about that. Anyway, so that was great, and then we sort of walked along the port area there, or the marina area there, and we'd been there before, but that was great. And then we saw a big Christopher Columbus at the end of the Rambla. I sort of was a little bit disappointed with the Rambla.
La Rambla.
Las Ramblas.
Yes.
Mainly because, look, you never eat there anyway, and everybody knows
it's very touristy.
It's a very tourist and rip-off, but it just seemed like the people that were looking after the restaurant were not Spanish.
And also there wasn't as much street performance and that sort of stuff. And they've put a lot of crossroads across La Rambla now. So you've got to give way to taxis and things. So it was a little bit different. So
yeah,
is there anything more about the park?
Not really. No. I just sort of
got to go.
Yeah, you got it's well worth it. And if you're staying on the Gothic area, it's bloody 10 minutes walk max.
All right. So another thing before we get on to Montserrat, we're going to tell you about the cathedral. And no, it's not the Sagrada Familia. Just to give you a heads up, we've done another episode about Barcelona, and we've covered the museums. We've covered the Maritime Museum. We've covered Sagrada Familia and
Picasso.
and we've done all of that in the hop on hop off bus. We've done a lot of stuff. So this one is just covering things that we haven't seen before. And one of those is the cathedral in the Gothic Quarter.
Yeah, basically the original cathedral.
It was sort of across from where we're staying, and from the rooftop we could see the spires of it, and we were determined to go and have a look.
Only because it looked so magnificent.
I know, and once again, it's not something we'd ever seen or heard of. I mean, obviously you hear about all the other famous things, but this is a stunning cathedral, and I've got a beautiful photo of the outside of it looking towards the front, and then also walking around it, because you can walk all the way around it, which is really nice, and through the cobblestone streets and look up and see the architecture of it. It was because it's huge, isn't it?
Yeah, so the most famous for its remarkable Gothic and Neo-Gothic style architecture, it was constructed from the 13th and the 15th centuries, is 93 metres or 305 feet long, 40 metres or 131 feet wide, and
huge.
28 metres or 92 feet high in the central nave. Each bell tower of the cathedral is 54 metres or 177 feet in height. One of the most well-known parts of the cathedral is the crypt of Saint Eulalia. The magnificent Gothic tomb incorporates Romanesque elements from other sources, such as the bases and capitals holding up the structure of the polychrome marble sarcophagus, and this was inaugurated in 1399. And seriously, when you see that, it blows your mind. It's unbelievable.
You've got to pay to get in, but you buy the tickets as you're facing the front of the cathedral. The Tourist Information Centre is just off to the left, and you just go in there and buy your tickets.
And it's like as cheap as chips, like €6
You've got
or
to
something.
do it anyway.
And with that you get the audio guide, and that was great. And it was really easy to work out which,
where you're at, because I got the numbers, and then you just put the numbers on.
So that 100%, if you're going to be in that Gothic area, you've got to go and have a look.
It was amazing just walking around that. And as I said, you can walk all the way around it, which was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Leanne, again, being in these little alleyways and all the shops and the fashion shops and that, Leanne thought she was in heaven.
I was, because there's nowhere else in the world, and I mean this, there's nowhere else in the world that you see shoe shops like you see in Spain. There just is not.
No.
And if I'm wrong, send me an email, leanne@beachtravelwine.com. But I tell you, I'm not wrong.
Okay.
And I'll argue till I die. Anyway, so and just the little, even the touristy shops that they've got, and you're walking through the Gothic Quarter, and you come across a big plaza, and then you go a little bit further, and you just, I loved walking around there. It was just, I don't know, like we've obviously been there before, but not as much into the Gothic Quarter as this time. And then we went to an Irish pub to watch.
Oh, that's right. It was across the road from where we were staying.
Yes, I wanted to watch Spain play in the Euro Cup.
And the pub was huge.
It was huge. Right. And we're in Spain watching Spain play in the Euro Cup. It was like the best atmosphere. Anyway, we won. I think they won every game after that. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, they won the whole lot. But
that was another fun thing about being in Spain at that time was the Euro Cup.
And it was really good because they had waitress service, remember?
Yeah.
So you didn't have to get up and get a beer or anything, and they had food available.
That's it.
And the atmosphere was
I got a photo.
Unbelievable.
I was smiling with big grins on our faces in
Well, it was quite funny because we got told that the Catalonians don't really care about Spanish.
They Spain.
Until
they play football.
And they were going ape.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
and another interesting fact, which is probably not interesting to anyone else, but there's only 5 countries in the world that don't have lyrics to their national anthem, and Spain is one of them. But I was watching it before the game, and they were singing, so they must have some of their own made-up lyrics. Some of them. I get.
Yeah.
And there was a time where they had a competition for lyrics.
Yeah.
And they they put those, whoever won it, they put it to the song. But there was so much protesting about it because all the different, like the Basque and the Catalans, and they don't like to call themselves Spanish, so they didn't do it anymore. But maybe some people kept that going, which I thought was interesting.
Anyway, the primary
neither here nor there.
The primary reason we really went to and stayed at Barcelona is because both Leonita and
we wanted to go to Montserrat.
Yes.
Now, Montserrat is about 60 kilometres from Barcelona.
See.
And it's up in the mountains. And if you've never heard of it or never seen it, just Google Montserrat and you'll get why we wanted to go there. Or go and check out the pictures and the links in the play listening on now to episode 120 to see this. It's a mountain range where there's a monastery and a church and all sorts of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, they say it's a multi-peaked mountain range. As Leanne said, it's only 60k from Barcelona.
It's the most unusual looking mountain range. It's big rounded rock formations.
Yeah.
They're like big, how would you even explain it? Like big cylindrical cone shapes.
That's probably the best way to...
all joined together. So
yeah, but at different heights and different levels. Heights. Yeah, never seen anything like it. It's part of the Catalan pre-coastal range. The main peaks are Saint Jeroni, which is 1,236 metres. There's Montgros, which is 1,120 metres. And there's Les Aguiles, which is 903 metres. It is well known for the site of the Benedictine Abbey, Santa Maria de Montserrat, which hosts the Virgin of Montserrat Sanctuary. Montserrat literally means serrated, like the common handsaw, mountain in Catalan. It describes its peculiar aspect with a multitude of rock formations that are visible from a great distance. The mountain is composed of strikingly pink conglomerate. Yeah, so it really has that pink hue to it. A form of sedimentary rock. Sedimentary rock are types of rocks that are formed by accumulation or disposition of minerals or organic particles at the Earth's surface. So it hasn't been formed by glacier or earthquakes or volcanic or whatever.
Big solid blocks of marble or granite. You're right.
Yeah. It's just little bits. It's just been pounded together. Well, what I read somewhere, it's all been cemented together. Yeah. But it's extraordinary.
It's popular for obviously the monastery and the cathedral and the Black Madonna, but it's also really popular for rock climbers and hikers.
Yeah, because our guide, Carlos, he was extremely keen rock climber and he just raved about how good it is. It's like some of the best in the world. And look, you can by looking at it. Yeah. You don't have to be a rock climber to realise how amazing it would be to be able to do it.
I will tell people about the tour we did, but how do you get to Montserrat?
Okay, you've got about 4 choices.
Yep.
You can go by car, which is about 50 minutes, but just be aware that there is limited parking and the parking is down the hill.
Yeah.
So it's a fair bloody big walk to walk up to get to where the monastery is. You've also got a bus, which takes about an hour and 25 from Barcelona. There's also a train which combines with a cable car and what they call a rack railway, and that takes about an hour and 10.
So you get the train to this station and then you can either go up the cable car.
Yep,
which are these big yellow sort of octagonal sort of shaped ones, and then or you can go up the little railway to where the cathedral is.
But we did a guided tour.
And the tour it's a small group tour, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes because I would highly recommend that.
Yeah, Carlos was fabulous.
And it includes pickup from your hotel as well. Now, it was about $300 it's cost us for the day.
Yeah, for the day, it's well worth it. Anyway, I'll give you a few more details on the train. By train, you catch from the España rail station in Barcelona. The España rail station is on the green and red metro lines, making it accessible from any part of Barcelona's city centre that has a metro stop. Once at España, look for line R5, headed toward Manresa. Trains leave every hour from 8:26 a.m. It also links up with the Montserrat cable car, which we talked about, and the rack rail. The tracks itself has an additional rack rail which is toothed to provide the locomotive with the extra traction required to pull the train up the gradient.
Now, also, if you don't want to catch up the rack rail or the
cable car,
there is a hike up, and it's 7 kilometres.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd want to do
and
that.
It's steep, but they're saying it is steep, and you will certainly get your heart rate up. But they apparently, and you can imagine, the views on the way up are just to die for.
Yeah. Okay, the cable car entered into service in 1930. It covers the 1,350 metres journey, scaling gradients of up to 45 degrees in just 5 minutes.
Yeah, so you can either walk up or get 45 degrees. So you wouldn't want to walk up that, would you?
No way. As far as buying tickets,
well, the one tour we did, everything was included except the funicular. But you can buy them when you're there or online.
Now the dress code, which is important because you don't want to get there and not be
allowed in.
Wear something that is comfortable and shows less skin. You can wear shorts with regular length, jeans, t-shirt, regular length skirts. Keep in mind that the Montserrat is on a mountain, making the weather much cooler during the winter months. Sandals are not allowed.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's at what they call the monastery.
The complex.
The complex. Okay, so we got there in our little air-conditioned private little van. It only takes 8 people on this small group tour, which is a good number. And we basically go with Carlos, and he takes us into the courtyard area outside the cathedral,
Yeah, so the complex is located at 720 metres or 2,362 feet above sea level. It is made up of the monastery of Santa Maria de Montserrat, the basilica, choir, the museum, and other facilities such as restaurant and tourist office and
a hotel.
Yeah, there is a hotel if you want to stay overnight. Now, the basilica itself, it's super impressive. The atrium,
I've got some lovely photos of outside, which you're going to talk about in a minute, but the inside too, because there's some unusual decorations, and also the Black Madonna, which is one of the reasons most people go there. And another area which is for the candles and making prayers and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it's probably only second to, as far as a pilgrimage site, it's only second to probably Santiago de Compostela.
Okay.
I think, and that'd be fair to say. So the atrium of the basilica is an open-roofed courtyard area that sits directly in front of the basilica. 5 arches lead you to the main area. Design on the right-hand wall of the atrium depicts the most important shrines and basilicas throughout Christianity. Designs on the left depict the history of Montserrat. Montserrat's church is a Gothic structure that also uses Renaissance shapes and traditional Catalan architecture. Around the edge of the church, you will see lots of ornate hanging candles. These are representative of the Catalan style of jewellery making from after the Spanish Civil War.
And I've got lovely photos of all of these things, so check out the link to episode 120.
Now, they've all been donated by the Catalan towns and associations, and then on the central pillars of the central nave, you'll see sculpted prophets.
It was beautiful, wasn't it?
Oh, look, it's typical of the Spanish churches. It's almost like they all try to outdo each other, but it was seriously absolutely beautiful. And now, the story behind the monastery, the Montserrat Monastery has its roots in the 9th century when a group of Benedictine monks established themselves in a remote and mountainous location. During the Middle Ages, Montserrat became the significant centre of learning and culture, and its library housing an impressive collection of manuscripts and artworks. The foundation of the monastery is attributed to the Benedictine monk Abbot Oliver, who led the construction and the initial organisation of the monastic community. The community today is made up of some 80 monks. As at the Benedict monasteries, the monks of Montserrat follow the rule of Saint Benedictine, devoting their lives to prayer, welcoming pilgrims and visitors, and working. They conduct daily religious services, care for the Virgin of Montserrat, and maintain the musical traditions of the famous boys' choir. The Montserrat Boys' Choir perform every weekday, Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. inside the Montserrat Basilica. Now, the legend of the old Montserrat.
Now, people go there to see the Black Madonna, right? That's what you're going to talk about, the legend?
Yeah.
And what I found interesting, and I don't know why, but I was quite surprised that it was up so high and behind glass and you had to line up to go and see it. Everything I'd sort of read or seen about it, I just assumed it was at the right at the front of the cathedral. It is free to see her, touch it, but you do have to line up. But anyway, let's go to the legend of the Black Madonna, shall we?
According to the legend, in the 9th century, the image, which is basically the statue of the Virgin Mary, was found in a cave on the mountain by shepherds. Now, Carlos showed us what the cave was. It's a fair distance from where the basilica is. The figure of the Virgin earned the name La Moreneta due to the dark skin. She became the symbol of hope and devotion for the Catalans. The Virgin of Montserrat is widely venerated and is the patroness of Catalonia. La Moreneta, meaning little dark one. Explanations range from Madonna made from dark wood or Madonna that have turned darker over time due to the factors such as aging and candle smoke. Carlos sort of indicated that he thinks it's
because where they had her was in a cave in a house. So, yeah, candles and fires.
Yeah.
Now, did you know there's between 400 and 500 Black Madonnas in Europe alone?
That doesn't surprise me at all.
No. So I just thought this was like unique and unusual.
I actually did too. I thought that was it, but yeah.
And that's not including the ones that they've found all through Africa and places like that. So interesting.
Well, the only reason I know that is because when I was doing the research for this, I saw and I thought that there was articles on.
Yeah, it's like 150, I think it is, alone in the south of France. So
I've got to say, I'm totally impressed with your actual research. That is, I think that's probably a first.
Yeah, there we go.
Well done. Now, since basically over generations, the statue has been repainted black.
So how do you get to see her?
Okay. In 1944, it was decided that a new room, known as the throne room, would be built with a stairway leading to the statue. As you enter the room where the Virgin sits, it is worth noting the doors. They are made from silver. The Black Madonna herself sits on an incredibly ornate throne, which is covered in Venetian mosaics.
They may say room, but basically it's a little pulpit up above the main area. So she's sitting in a window, basically, and people walk past her.
Yeah.
Okay.
At either side of the Virgin, you will spot 9 silver lamps. These represent the 8 dioceses of Catalonia and Montserrat. Above the Virgin's head, there are angels that were created by the sculptor Marti Llorado. The statue sits behind a sheet of glass. However, one of the hands that is holding a sphere, which symbolizes the universe, is not behind the glass. It is traditional for you to kiss or touch the Virgin's hands whilst opening out your other hand to Jesus.
Right. And I tried to get a photo of I had to zoom in because we didn't go up there. We were running out of time. We had a choice to either do that or go up the funicular, and we chose the funicular. But there's just someone walking past all the time. There's always someone up there. So
they say basically the waiting times. At busy times, you'll wait between 20 and 45 minutes.
But I've also seen people who stay overnight or go later in the day. They don't have any waiting time. So if that's important to you, you definitely want to find a time where you don't have to line up.
Yeah, look, there's no, as I think Lan said just before, there is no charge for visiting the Black Madonna. However, there are collection boxes at the bottom and the top of the stairs to the Black Madonna. Now, when you have seen the Black Madonna, you exit via the Ave Maria path. The area is a moving place where you will be given the opportunity to pay homage to the statue. Each candle that you will see has been lit as a prayer to the Virgin Mary. If you want to light your own candle for the Virgin, you will need to purchase one from the cages that sit in the atrium of the basilica.
Now, there's a picture on the wall. I think it's a tile.
Yes.
And I've got a photo of that because it was so beautiful. And then below that, there are all these beautiful coloured candles just all sitting there flickering away. And
it is quite moving.
It was moving. So
when you think all those candles have been lit by
there was one
people.
lady there sort of crying, like saying a prayer, and her husband's touching her on the head, and she's got a photo of someone. So they obviously take it very seriously.
Yeah, so just a bit more of a description of what Leanne was talking about. It's actually a mosaic tile of the Virgin Mary in that area. It's huge.
Yeah.
So
check it out. Go to the link.
It's really good. Look, they do
Nice.
daily masses at the Basilica each day. There's one at 11 a.m., which is the main mass of the day. There's one at 1 o'clock, the second mass of the day, and that's where they
do the singing,
the choir. And there's one at 7:30 with a mass sung by the monks and the choir, but that's only Saturday only.
So the good thing about doing the tour we did is we had a tour guide. We have a driver, we have a nice van, we get good parking, and we have great advice and the great information that Carlos gave us as well, not just about the cathedral and the monastery, but about the mountains and the history and that sort of thing. Even on the way up, there was it was fabulous. We learnt so much. It was so much better than I hoped it would be. And as I said, I'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Yeah, I thought the same. I was really looking forward to it. But when you're really looking forward to something so much, sometimes you get disappointed. But no, we definitely weren't disappointed.
So that was all highlights. But then we had some free time, and we could have either gone to the museum or we go up the funicular. So we chose the funicular, and the reason we chose the funicular, and it's not because of my love of heights, because I hate them, but once again, you got to go and check out the photos. You can see because we're talking about we were at 700 metres, we're going up now to 1,200 metres, and you go straight up this funicular, and you've never seen views like this before. You're looking over these great big rounded conglomerates of mountain put together, and then you look down and you've got the whole complex of Montserrat before you. You can see everything there. And
you're looking down about between 5 and 400 metres down onto this complex. It's amazing.
You can go over the other side from where the monastery is and look down over the countryside, and you can see back over towards Barcelona. And you can actually walk along. Our guide Carlos, he gave us this little secret spot to go and have a look. He said most people don't know about it, so that was a good thing. But you can also do a bit of a hike up there if you've got more time and just go out to the end of the sort of peak area of that mountain. But it was incredible. The views up there it was so worth going up to do that. And you have to pay to do that.
Yeah, but it was.
Oh no, but that wasn't included in the price.
It was like it might have been €2 or €3. It was nothing. Can you remember what the name of it was?
No.
The St. Joan funicular.
Okay, there you go. So definitely,
well
I would
worth
highly recommend doing that. And I would also make sure you had time to visit the museum, the art museum, which we didn't do. And Lyle was so disappointed because one of his favourite artists has some paintings in there.
Yeah. It was only because we overheard people talking about.
Well, someone who didn't come up the funicular went to.
That's right.
Yeah, went to the museum,
and they just said how absolutely stunning the museum was. Well, I'll give you a bit of a rundown.
Okay.
Showcases a selection of most outstanding artistic and archaeological heritage at the 1,000-year-old Abbey of Montserrat. The museum contains 6 very different collections. More than 1,300 pieces are exhibited in the museum, embracing a vast chronological period. The original basis of the museum was a so-called biblical museum. The oldest exhibition is an Egyptian sarcophagus from the 13th century BC. The sarcophagus forms part of the archaeology of the Biblical East collection, along with other objects from the cultures of Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece, and the Holy Land. Another exhibition devoted to the iconography of Our Lady of Montserrat, which traces the changing way in which the Virgin Mary has been represented in art over the centuries. Since 2006, the museum has a new section, a collection of about 160 Byzantine and Slavic icons. The other collections are goldsmithery, and that basically comprises objects from the 15th and 20th century. So that's all the goldsmithery. Paintings from the 13th and 18th century, which include works by El Greco, the Greek as they call him, Caravaggio, which Leanne pointed out, that's my favourite, Luca Giordano, Tiepoli, and the 19th century paintings by Dali, Picasso, and the French Impressionists, including Monet. So, wow. Seriously, wow, yeah. Anyway, but I don't know. Look, we were there. I don't know how long do you reckon we were there?
Oh well, the whole thing from Barcelona and back is 5 hours, which is probably not quite long enough.
It's not long enough because you probably spent a couple of hours just in the museum.
I highly recommend the tour we did because of all the information we got, but you could probably stay there and maybe get the rail back. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
That would have been because you.
Oh yeah, good idea.
Then you get the benefit of all the information and all that stuff with the guide and the pickup, and then you can just find your way back to Barcelona. It wouldn't be that hard to get back down, buy tickets home. I reckon that would be a real
sure. And maybe. I mean, if you're really gonna get after it, I suppose stay overnight.
Yeah, that would have been good. So it was so much better than I hoped.
Yeah.
And our trip to Barcelona this time has risen Barcelona up
in
our opinion. And we saw the Gothic Quarter, we saw the park and all the stuff, the Arc de Triomphe, and then Montserrat just topped it off. It was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So loved it.
Highly recommend it. As I said, go and check out the show notes or the podcast description on the player you're listening on now and click on the link to episode 120. And there I've got all the pictures of everywhere we've talked about. I'll put a link to the tour that we did and also to the hotel we stayed in because that was really
magnificent.
Yeah, that was a great spot to stay as well. And
the staff were fabulous.
If you've got any questions, as I said, send us an email, leanne@beachtravelwine.com. Or if you want to see some of the videos we took of me going, I was right at the front of the funicular too, going up the hill to, I've got videos, I've got story highlights on Instagram. So Beach Travel Wine, up the top on the story highlights, see the one that says Barcelona and click on that and we'll take you all through our trip to Barcelona. So
yeah. Look, I would suggest if you're going to Barcelona, you can't not go to Montserrat.
It says you who's been there 4 times and only just got there.
Well, probably that's why I'm saying it.
Yeah, got to do it. So as I said, we're so happy to be back in España, and we've got another podcast. We've got a few more podcasts coming up of some places that we hadn't been in Spain before too. So we're looking forward to doing those. So So Lyle, your favourite place to have a glass of wine in Barcelona this time? And last time you said it was the Maritime Museum. You just really rated that and loved that so much. That's another Lyle's favourite place. But this time, where would you like to have your glass of wine?
I would say it would have to be the rooftop bar at the accommodation place we stayed at. I thought it was brilliant because, you just overlooked the whole Gothic Quarter.
Yeah.
It was magnificent, and the staff were great in the bar.
You've said
the wine was great. It was cheap. Perfecto.
Well, my favourite place to have a glass of wine was actually my Tinto de Verano because it was my first one back in Spain at that little
lunch.
Yeah, little restaurant right there on the port area. It was fabulous. I loved it.
Yep.
All right. Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
No.
You can have 2.
I can. It was watching Spain play football.
Oh, yeah.
That was my favourite. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I get it.
All right. It's hasta luego from me.
And it's hasta luego from her.
Bye.
Bye.